Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Sri Ishvara Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Welcome to today's BHAGAVATAM class. Sadhya Prabhu will be hosting, but just deputizing for him. But if you're ready, you can put the verse on the screen so that I can start.
Okay. Narayana Namaskritya Narotama Devam Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamabhiraye Nastapaye Shapadresu
The verse is on the screen for you so you can start.
Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhakti Bhakti Bhavati Nastiki Ramine Jara Prame Bhagavitadu Abhyamadi Jari Savati Mokam Gatiba Jalam Pandu Rajati Yakripatanam Mandi Sri Purnatari Paramandanatva Yamo Pradesha Katavu Chaparamoni Mashamsitan Vedin Vastavam Navastam Sri SRIMAD Bhagavate Mahamani Kitanki Pai Parishra Sayyam Nigama Tapata Vikarita Param Sukamukan Santam Nibatam Bhagavatam Vasamana Vasamalaya Bhura Uraska Bhubhavukam Yashiva Shamadaya Krishna Paramapu Shri Bhakti Chari Sasukamo Atsoyam Brahmasuttanam Bharatatavinaya Gayatvasu Sudhagajaparivinta Samavirichi Asanam Saransara Paravinta Sudhaganti Saram Sri Bhagavatam Sute Karashamita Syati Prashumayati Sarvati Brahme Brajandaya Radhikatalade Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Sabhaktayo Namo Namaha Jnanachimandasya Kanandam Sarakaya Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna 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 Namaste Saraswati Sasmi Vadi Pashtu Krishna Vanchakapatra Vyasta Kapasti Vanchapati Jana Yo Namo Namo Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gauracyananda Sri Advaita Gadhara Srivasa Gaura Bhakti Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So I thank everyone for being here. This even in my time, if you're in Africa, it's your afternoon time. Or if you're in America, it's your morning time. So this is Hare Krishna Africa. It's a nice, wonderful platform to communicate with devotees who may be of African origin or those who are the well-wishers of African background. So today we discuss about Dhritarashtra, who had gone to the forest to perform, let's see, he has gone to the forest to take shelter for the Lord, to take shelter in order to attain the ultimate goal of life in Second canto Bhagavatam says, trying to show them one number jet that because the person an householder is not meant to live in the house or in household affairs until the very end of life. At certain time, at certain point, one has to leave home and go to the forest. Now, what do you want to do in the forest? He said, Haripadam Ashrita. It means Haripada. Haripada means lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. That Haripada Ashrita. That means I want to take shelter of the Supreme Lord. And by taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, one can be finish up this existence in the material world and go back home or go back to the spiritual world. So, Dhritarashtra, he had been instructed by his brother, Vidura, that what are you doing? You're very, very old man. You cannot hear properly anymore. Same nephews that they have given so much oppression to. Now the same nephews, they are now looking after you. And you are just like a household that's done. So you should feel shameful that you are even remaining in this palace, this household. So therefore, my dear brother, you should get out. Go to the forest. Go to the forest. What is it you achieve? All your children are dead. What is there for you to achieve? The body has become very, very old. You become hard of hearing. What are you doing here? So, by good fortune, the Dhritarashtra was able to hear, to listen to the spiritual message. So that message enters his heart, and then he went to the forest, and his wife Gandhari also followed him. Basically, as I say, as mentioned, that Brahmanda Brahmite Pura Bhagavan Guru Krishna Prashade Bhai Bhaktivinoda Beach. That the living entity has been wandering throughout so many, many universes, many, many planets, taking different bodies, different species of life, ultimately attains to one form of life, which means 8.4 million species of life. So it's a Brahmanda Bhagavan. So when that living entity becomes fortunate, it means a pure devotee of Krishna. Such a person makes a spiritual, self-realized person. It's that guru. And when the person meets a guru, who's a self-realized person, what happened? I bhakti the roots, the seed of devotional service germinates, sprout up. Which means what is fortunate when hear a message from a spiritual personality, and that message enters the heart. And when the message enters the heart, and then one take up that message, one listen to that message. So in this way, one's existence in the material world is diminished, and transferring of oneself to the spiritual world begins. So this is what Dhritarashtra has come to this particular platform by he had a very good instruction from his brother Vidura. Now he has come to the first. Having gone to the forest, he actually he left without informing anyone.
Hare Krishna, Shri
He left without informing anyone.
Hare Krishna.
Let's like it.
Ishvara Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Sorry,
Hare Krishna.
yeah, sorry for the interruption.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. Your audio is not quite clear.
Audio is not clear.
Yeah. If you can.
Is it? Can everybody hear me?
It breaks up.
Huh?
Your voice keeps breaking.
It's breaking?
Yes.
Oh, really? Let me see. Okay. Let me see if I can find. Let me see if I can find another phone. Just give me a moment.
All right.
Okay. One second. Oh, boy. This is very, very rare that you can hear me. Okay, let me see. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah.
Am I audible?
Yeah. It seems this is.
Okay, 1 second. Let me disconnect. 1 second. Disconnect this 1 second.
All right. You may go ahead and speak.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, you may go ahead and speak, Prabhuji.
Sir?
Yeah, you may go ahead and speak, Prabhuji.
Okay. Am I audible now?
Yes.
Am I audible?
Yes. Yeah. Now you are audible, but I don't. Yeah. You have two audios on because there is an echo. You have two audios on because there is an echo.
The other one is off. Okay. So I can be heard properly now.
Okay.
Is it?
All right. Go ahead. Sorry for the interruption. Sorry for
Okay. Because I'm in Vrindavan and we don't have too much high technology here. Our technology really could be spiritual sound vibration. So I'm talking about the Dhritarashtra who had heard the spiritual message from his brother that don't stay home, immediately live for the forest. and look out for that purpose, look out to attain that place, whereby having that thing, you will not come back to this material world. So now, actually mentioned in the Vedic scriptures that when a man take like Boniface and leaving home, going to the forest, that usually one should leave home without informing the family members. Not that, oh, I'm going to take 10 years, therefore you ring the bell. Everybody come on here, I'm taking 10 years, I'm leaving home. Yes, we should have a similar party. Let's have a big drum because I'm leaving home. Would you, taking 10 years running prize is not like that. One has to be fun, like in the middle of the night, when the family don't know anything, what has happened to you. Then one leave home. And when one faces one direction, one does not look back. Just keep going. Just keep going. You face in one direction. So the terrestrial is gone, and it's left the Yudhishthira Maharaj. The next morning when he went he found that his uncle was found. His uncle had gone. His uncle was nowhere to be found.
Prabhu, I think the audio quality is still bad. Prabhu, I think the audio quality is still bad.
Audio quality is still bad, eh?
Don't hear anything.
Oh, really? So I'm just speaking to the hair. So audio quality is, so I'm speaking to the, I don't know what happened. This is the first time this happened before. My headlights. How much of my sound can you hear?
I don't know.
Huh?
It keeps breaking up and
I don't hear you,
it keeps breaking up and it Yeah, Ishara Prabhu. If you may try logging out and then log back in, that may fix the problem. Quickly. Just log out and then log back in.
Okay. Can you hear me this way?
Yes, it's better this way. If we can keep it this way, that would be good.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, this very rarely happened. I don't know what happened today. So now you can hear me, right?
Yes, this is way much better.
Just speaking to the wind, you know. All right. Of course, I'm happy that the Shiva's Prabhu is online. Attending the forum. So I'm talking about Mr. Lawrence, who is lamenting for the sudden disappearance of Mr. Rashtra, and was in so much anxiety that where is my uncle? Where is my aunt? Where are they? He was in so much anxiety. So now, and of course, this Maharaj was saying, oh, maybe because of my offenses, in the relationship, the fact that, all his nephews and all his cousins, they all died in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this Maharaj was always, putting all the blame upon himself. So anyway, so Narada Muni had come to the palace. Narada Muni had come and is now informing Yudhishthira Maharaj about the events that is taking place. So now, the Narada Muni is now saying, is not telling Yudhishthira Maharaj, because Narada Muni, he could have, he had a telepathy, he can see far, far away. Because Narada Muni is a transcendental personality. Is a proper call him spaceman, transcendental spaceman. So which means you could see far beyond anything. He is the transcendental spaceman. So Narada Muni is informing Yudhishthira Maharaj about the event that is taking place in the forest. And of course, actually, Narada Muni was giving the news that actually is actually a great news, that this is not something that you have to be unhappy about. So Narada Muni is giving information to Yudhishthira Maharaj about the situation of the Dhritarashtra. So this is the verse we are reading today, which is Canto 1, chapter 13, text 56. So Narada Muni said, Dastamaya Gunada Ko Niruda Kanasaya.
Now you are always asking for money.
Akilara Astistano Ivachala. Somebody talking to me? Tasyantarayo Mai Babu Sanyasta Kilakamana. So this is not a money. Now, am I audible?
Yes, you are, Prabhu. Go ahead. Yes, you
are. Okay. So if I'm not audible, please let me know.
Okay.
Okay. So now the text, Dhritarashtra been destroyed, Maya Guna, the modes of material nature, Adaka, after effects. The Ruddha being suspended, Karana Shaiha, the senses and the mind, Nivartita, stopped. Akila, all, Ahara, food for the senses. Aste is sitting, Stanu, immovable, Eva, like, Achala, fixed, Tasya is, Antaraya, hindrances, Maeva, never like that, Abu, the Sanyasta, renounced, Akila, all sorts, Kamana, material duties. Translation and purport by Divine Grace is about to be done to Swami Prabhupada. He will have to suspend all the actions of the senses, even from the outside, and will have to be impervious to interactions of the senses, which are influenced by the modes of material nature. After renouncing all material duties, he must become immovably established beyond all sources of hindrances on the path. Purpose. Dhritarashtra had attained by the yogic process the stage of negation of all sorts of material reaction. The effects of the material modes of nature draw the victim to indefatigable desires of enjoying matter. But one can escape such false enjoyment by the yogic process. Every science is always busy in searching for its food, and thus the conditioned soul is assaulted from all sides and has no chance to become steady in any pursuit. Maharaj Yudhishthira was advised by Narada not to disturb his uncle by attempting to bring him back home. He was now beyond the attraction of anything material. The material modes of nature, the gunas, have their different modes of activities, but above the material modes of nature is a spiritual mode, which is absolute. Niguna means without reaction. The spiritual mode and its effects are identical. Therefore, the spiritual qualities is distinguished from its material counterpart by the word niguna. After complete suspension of the material modes of nature, one is admitted to the spiritual sphere. An action dictated by the spiritual modes is called devotional service or bhakti. Bhakti is therefore niguna, attained by direct contact with the absolute. So this is it's very, very interesting discussion of the state of the living being who have attained the spiritual perfection, the yogic perfection. The immediate result of this is the attainment of, let's say, we'll call it a nirvana, the Brahma nirvana, because nirvana sometimes the Buddhists, Mahabharats, they use this word very, very loosely. Or we are, of course, we say niguna. There is a guna, which is the qualities of this material world. When we say guna, guna means those things, those qualities, which are in a relation to these. So the three modes of material nature, which is this material world basically, because this material world is under the influence, is under the control of the three modes of material energy, the three gunas. The niguna is the stage whereby one has transcended, one has transcended the three modes of material nature, niguna. So there's niguna, and then, of course, when one becomes completely situated in the spiritual activities, this stage is also called naiskambhya. There's karma, which are the materialistic activities which you perform. But when our activities become completely spiritual, that becomes naiskambhya. Now, how does activity become spiritual? The activities become spiritual when all the activities are directed towards the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. That's when the activity becomes spiritual. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 14, text 26, so Lord Krishna is telling Arjuna, he said, Mam chayo vyabhicharenam bhakti yogena sevate sagunam samatityaita brahma bhuya kapate. This is Bhagavad Gita chapter 14, text 26. So the Lord is telling Arjuna that one who engages in full devotional service, unfailing in all circumstances, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the level of Brahman. Now, of course, as I said, when we say Brahman, Brahman does not mean that one loses one's individuality. But the complete spiritual attainment, this is called Brahma, Brahma Bhuya Kapate. So in the purpose, like Prabhupada said, this verse is a reply to Arjuna's third question. What is the means of attaining to the transcendental position? As explained before, the material world is acting under the spell of the most of material nature. One should not be disturbed by the activities of the most of nature. Instead of putting his consciousness into such activities, he may transfer his consciousness to Krishna activities. Krishna activities are known as Bhakti Yoga, always acting for Krishna. This includes not only Krishna, but his different plenary expansions, such as Ram and Narayana. He has innumerable expansions. One who is engaged in the service of any of the forms of Krishna or of his plenary expansions is considered to be transcendentally situated. One should also know that all the forms of Krishna are fully transcendental, blissful, full of knowledge, and eternal. Such personalities of Godhead are omnipotent and omniscient, and they possess all transcendental qualities. So, if one engages himself in the service of Krishna or his plenary expansions with unfailing determination, although these modes of material nature are very difficult to overcome, one can overcome them easily. This has already been explained in the 7th chapter. One who surrenders unto Krishna at once surmounts the influence of the modes of material nature. To be in Krishna consciousness or in devotional service means to acquire equality with Krishna. The Lord says that his nature is eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge, and the living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme, as gold particles are part of a gold mine. Thus, the living entity in its spiritual position is as good as gold, as good as Krishna in quality, not quantity, however. The difference of individuality continues, otherwise, there will be no question of Bhakti Yoga. Bhakti Yoga means that the Lord is there, the devotee is there, and the activities of exchange of love between the devotee and between the Lord and the devotee is there. Therefore, the individuality of two persons is present in the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the individual person. Otherwise, there will be no meaning to Bhakti Yoga. If one is not situated in the same transcendental position with the Lord, one cannot serve the Supreme Lord. To be a personal assistant to a king, one must acquire the qualifications. Thus, the qualification is to become Brahma or free from all material contamination. It is said in the Vedic literature, Brahmaiva San Brahma Apeti. One can attain the Supreme Brahman by becoming Brahman. This means that one must qualitatively become one with Brahman. By attainment of Brahman, one does not lose his eternal Brahman identity as an individual soul. So this verse is quite explanatory in terms of giving us the full conception of the spiritual attainment in terms of how one's consciousness are basically changed from material consciousness to fully spiritual consciousness. So the Dhritarashtra, so he had gone to the forest and he began his meditation. He began practicing yoga. So through the yoga practice, actually Lord Krishna explained this very clearly in the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, when the Lord was instructing Uddhava about how the yogi go to the forest and begin the process of meditation. And the very first thing, the yogi, the very first mentality that a yogi have to adopt is that of fearfulness. One, get rid of fear. Why? Because if you're afraid, because when you're in the forest, if you're afraid that, maybe there's going to be some animals, especially because you have to go to the deep forest. I don't know what is there. So first, the very first thing is one has to conquer fear first. That yes, and how do one conquer fear? Is the study understanding that yes, I am not this material body, I am a spirit soul. And nothing, because I'm a spirit soul, nothing can affect me. That firm understanding, that firm conviction has to be there first. Otherwise, if there is fear that, I'm in the forest alone, what's going to happen then? Then one cannot practice yoga. So the very first thing in the yogi practice is that of freedom from fear. So, and then when there's that freedom from fear, then the yogi practice begins through pranayama, the breathing process. Pranayama, pratyahara, like different processes of prana, whereby once is meditating upon one's individual self, and then ultimately one begin to disassociate oneself from all the materialistic elements. Like you mentioned in this verse we are reading that the terrestrial, he take away his mind from his, he mentioned here that the quality of Maya is a druster in Maya Guna that the quality of Maya no longer have effect on the rasa. Why? Because those qualities destroyed. Is that the quality of Maya destroyed? And so his senses, his inner mind, so along with all the activities, stopped. So he no longer depend on no longer focus on the activities of the senses or the demands of the mind. He no longer focus on that. Even to the extent, because as he was doing this, now he come to the point whereby he no longer feel any necessity to eat food or to sleep. He no longer feel that necessities because he has been able to through the yogic process, he has able to rise up, to elevate his being, his prana, he's able to elevate that to that of spiritual consciousness. Basically, he has attained the stage of samadhi. He has attained that stage. So, which means he no longer has any attachment to family, to society. All his attachments are completely destroyed. All his attachments completely destroyed. So, Madam Muni is telling you this Maharaj that now all his attachments are destroyed. So, therefore, don't go to the forest to try to influence him to come back home so that you can look after him. Don't do that. Just leave him alone. Yes, now he has completely removed himself from any kind of materialistic concentration, any kind of materialistic attachment. He has removed himself, totally removed himself. Totally removed himself. He has become fixed. He has become fixed in the absolute truth. So therefore, do not make any attempts to try to go to the forest and then to say, oh, my dear uncle, please come back home. Do not do that. Just like when Chaitanya Prabhu after it took some years, the Lord, normally when one takes some years, one leave home completely, one never returns home after taking some years. One does not return home. So after Chaitanya Prabhu takes some years, and but because the Lord was surrounded by all his devotees, all his loving devotees, the members of the Panchatattva, Lord Nityananda, Srivas Thakur, Advaita Acharya, and Gadara Pandit, Murari Gupta Mukunda, and his own mother, all of them. So when one takes some years, one does not take some years from devotees, because one gets one's life from devotees. You take some years, but you don't take years from devotees. So the Lord took some years, but it doesn't mean that he has to not take some years from the devotees. Otherwise, that becomes that kind of renunciation is tried. You take some years, but you actually take some years to become more attached to the Lord, to actually increase your love for Krishna. It's not that you take some years from your loving dealing with the devotees. So when my Prabhu takes some years, now his mother was in Shantipur, in the house of Advaita Acharya, because the devotees. His mother was also there. So, and then the Lord, because his mother, she had come there, Saraswati had come there, and she begged the devotee that let me cook for, as long as Nima is here, because his son, Chaitanya Prabhu is Nima, said as long as Nima is here, let me cook for my dear Nima. So she prayed to the devotees, and the devotees say, okay, the universal mother, so you can cook for the Lord. So therefore, the Lord was there for like 10 days in the house of Advaita Acharya. So Mother Sati, she was cooking every day. And of course, because Mother Sati, she was not just an ordinary mother, she was the mother of God. And she herself is a very dear devotee of Krishna. She's a lover of Krishna. So Mahaprabhu then told his mother that, my dear mother, what I've done is a very unusual thing, that instead of me to stay home and look after you, I'll look after the family affairs after some years. So therefore, tell me what I should do. Tell me what will please you. Tell me what will please you, what will satisfy you. So Mother Saji then said that, well, I cannot ask you to come back home, because that is not the duty of a sannyasi. And if the sannyasi go back home, then the reputation becomes spoiled in the society. And the whole society becomes very bad. So it's not good. But if you can simply stay in Jagannath Puri, they'll be very, very happy. Because after in Jagannath Puri, so many devotees, they go there from Nadia, Mayapur. Many devotees go there, they go back, and when they go there, they'll be able to give me news about your activities. And by hearing news of your activities, this will give me great happiness. This will give me great joy. So Chaitanya Prabhu, so hearing this from his mother, he said, okay, I will do as you say, I will stay in Jagannath Puri. So therefore, Chaitanya Prabhu, after 20 years, so he basically spent all this time in Jagannath Puri, apart from a couple of years, some 6 years or so, when he was traveling around different parts of India. Otherwise, the Lord simply stay in Jagannath Puri. So that is the sannyas, whereby one renounced all activities. So the Because the terrestrial, he had totally given up everything. He's now getting ready to leave his body. He was not getting ready to leave his body through a yogic process. Because as we're going to read in the next couple of verses, we're going to hear how the terrestrial, how he, by doing yogic meditation, he was able to basically, the soul raised up through Brahmarandra, which is the type of the skull. The soul came out, and then the body burst into flames. His body burst into fire by self-generating fire. So the body burst into flames, the body got consumed in fire, and then of course, Gandhari was also there, so she also entered the same fire. And also, actually, he mentioned that Mother Kunti was also there also, because Mother Kunti, she was very, very attached to Gandhari, very, very affectionate to each other. She also entered the same fire also. I read this. I think they mentioned this also mentioned about the BHAGAVATAM also. That she also entered the same fire, Mother Kunti. So as Nanda Muni was describing all these events, Nanda Muni he was actually full of joy. He was saying how someone attained perfection. So in the later part of this purpose, which the Prabhupada had written, that this stage of spiritual practice called niguna, whereby one become transcend, one rises above the most of all materialist activities. One's activity is no longer dictated. It's no longer dictated by the most of material nature, basically. So one's activity has become very spiritual. So that stage, of course, is the platform of devotional service, because only devotees, the devotees' activities is not dictated by the material energy. So Srila Rupa Goswami, he said, Aya Bilasita Sunyam Jnana Kamadhyana Britam, Anukulina Krishna Nushilana Bhakti. That what is bhakti? What is devotional service to Krishna? What is bhakti? He said, Aya Ambilasita Sunyam, which means Aya means order, which means when such activities are not motivated by other desires, by karma or anything, but the sole purpose, the sole endeavor is to simply please Lord Krishna. The sole endeavor, the sole purpose is just to please Lord Krishna. Krishna no Shilanam, which means whatever feel for Krishna, whatever we please Krishna, such activities is called devotional service. When all one's activities is no longer motivated by any desire or for anything else. Now, when we say no desire, it doesn't mean that completely to become devoid of desire, because one also have desires. But one after desire, the desire is for Krishna, which means one desires Krishna only, not any other thing. So when one desires Krishna only, and all one's activities are simply meant to please Krishna, that is niguna, that is naskambhya. Niguna, transcendental activities, transcendent to the most of material nature, and naskambhya. So therefore, a devotee is no longer affected by the reactions of modes of nature. There is no, the Lord said, what's that? Saguna Samaritya Brahma Punya Kapati. That there's no materialistic influence. And devotees become free from fear. Basically, devotees become very happy. Become very happy how? By engagement in devotional service. Just like mentioned that, the Bhakti was the Ananda Kanda, as they said, that the part of devotional service for Krishna is a part of joy, is a part of happiness. Why is it saying that it's part of happiness? Because there is no more involvement of material energy, is no more there. There's no more involvement with material energy. So therefore, devotional service for Krishna is full of joy, it's full of happiness. So that's what PRABHU was teaching another Goswami. He said, Krishna Bhatta, Niskam, Ata Eva Shanto, Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami, Sakaya Shanto. The devotee of Krishna, Niskam, Krishna, Niskam Ata Eva Shanto, the devotee of Krishna, because of his desireless nature, because he has only desire for Krishna. So the devotee of Krishna is always very peaceful, very, very peaceful. He's the only person that's very peaceful. Ataiva Shanta means peace, peacefulness. The Krishna devotee is always very peaceful. He's very peaceful. Why? He said that because he has not a desire except desire for Krishna, but all others is a mukti, mukti bhukti shri kame sakalya santu, which means all others, everyone else, they have no peace in this world. Which means those who are desire liberation, those who desire the part of materialistic enjoyment, those who desire liberation, or the yogis, the so-called yogis, because there are so-called yogis whose desire is to develop some mystic power. They go to the Himalayas or whatever, or Rishikesh. They perform some yogic, some mystic practices, so that they become very powerful. They have very powerful mystic perfection, so whereby they can do so many wonderful things. But those so-called yogis, they become very enamored by those yogic processes. By those yogic, they become very enamored with it because they can do so many superhuman things. They can do because they can read the mind of others. They can do many things. They can control elements. Anything they can do. But because they have not become devotees of Krishna, so such yogis, they are never peaceful because they begin to think, now I become God. I'm God now because I have all this power. So just like here in India, we are there, there are many people, yogis, who call themselves God. It's not I'm God. That's so actually here in India, they are Bhagavan means God. They are everywhere. Like Prabhupada used to say that Americans or Europeans, they produce cars and all that. But in India, we produce gods. Gods is everywhere. Because anyone who can do something different is called God. Of course, this is of course illusion, of course. It's all illusion. God is only one. There cannot be two gods. And the attempt to become God is simply another form of illusion. It's a Maya state. So therefore, Mukti Bhukti Siddhi Kami Sakalya Santa, a devotee has no, it's peaceful because he has no desire. He simply wants to serve Krishna. And that's why here in Vrindavan, there are a great class of devotees called the inhabitants of Vrindavan. And those inhabitants of Vrindavan, their only purpose of the existence is to simply give happiness to Krishna. That is their only purpose of existence. They have no other means of existence. It's to simply give happiness to Krishna. So, those devotees, it's like whatever will make Krishna happy, that will become the source of their happiness. Their happiness is to see Krishna become happy. And of course, God is not selfish. If God is very happy with your service, he makes you happy. And actually, we mentioned here that the gopis of Vrindavan, they, in their loving service to Krishna, without any desire for their own joy, because they just want to give joy to Krishna. But the gopis of Vrindavan, in rendering such selfless service to Krishna, they actually get so much happiness, so much bliss, that's even millions of times, even much more than what Krishna is getting. Just imagine. They are rendering selfless service to Krishna, rendering selfless service to Krishna. But the joy that they are getting is even much more joy than what Krishna is getting. Just imagine. So much to the extent that Krishna became very greedy. He said, oh, I want to know what is my devotees are getting by their service towards me. They don't care for anything. They don't care for anything. I want to know, but they're so mad after me. They're so mad, trying to relish my association. They're so mad. So they have what is it that they're getting? So Krishna becomes very greedy. Normally, in the material world, greed it's not a good thing much in the world. Greed. Because of our greediness, that's why we're in the material world. He said, what does he say? Actually, mention two things. That was that because of our desire to enjoy the world, so we're here. And when we don't get what we are looking for, we become very, very angry with it. So therefore the Lord said, notice that every limited in the material world, they are motivated. They are overcome by the duality of faith and desire. Each means the desire. Each means the aversion. Because you're looking for something, you don't get it, so you become angry with it. And that's called the illusion of very poor. But the Lord becomes greedy, but he is greedy. This is actually greed, not like that. So they want to know what my devotees are getting. So therefore, in order to do that, the Lord comes and becomes his own devotee in the form of Sri Chaitanya Prabhu, by taking the mood of the topmost devotees, took the mood and also the complexion and became Srimati. Just to understand the nature of love of himself. What is that my devotees are getting towards their love for me? What is that they are getting? And what kind of happiness? What is their attraction? How come they are so attracted to me? What is the attraction? So therefore the Lord comes as so the ocean of devotion service, Bhakti Ras, the ocean of devotion service, it's so deep. It's so deep that, if you begin to describe it, the more we try to describe it, the more deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper we go. Just like if you dive yourself into the ocean, how deep can you go into the ocean? There's no end to it. So the ocean of devotional service is like that. So this is the way yoga. Yoga means to connect. Yoga means union. So the yoga, whereby with this Milana, the meeting of the Lord, whereby one becomes connected with Lord. So that is yoga, and in doing that, in pursuing that, so therefore, the great transcendentalists, they will say, oh, if you see a devotee who has taken the path for devotional service, do not disturb him. Don't disturb. So that's why Narada Muni is advising Yudhishthira Maharaj that do not try to disturb Narada Muni. Do not try to disturb Dhritarashtra. Narada Muni is telling Dhritarashtra. He's telling Yudhishthira Maharaj that do not try to disturb Dhritarashtra, but try to go to the forest and try to bring him home. No, don't disturb him, because now he has not gone to attain that topmost destination. He has not gone. He has become totally free from this material world. He has become free. So do not disturb him. Yeah. So it's very, very interesting, this session of Bhagavatam. But now the Dhritarashtra left home, Vidura himself has left home, because Vidura came home because Lord Krishna himself has left home also, but the Pandavas, especially the Maharaj, and his brother, his three brothers, because Arjuna have gone to Dwarka. So you see this Maharaj, he hasn't got this information yet that Lord Krishna has actually left the planet. So I think that's going to be the next chapter, so next chapter, when Arjuna came back from Dwarka, and then the Pandavas, they will retire to the forest themselves. Okay, so I'm going to stop here. I hope you were able to hear me. Was it?
Hare Krishna, yeah. Thank you. Well, still an echo.
So you'll have to speak loud, because my speaker it's something, I don't know what happened today. So my system is not good. So if there's any question, I cannot hear you. Are you speaking? I can't hear you.
You cannot hear me.
Are you speaking? Okay, when you speak loud, I hear you. Okay, speak.
But I don't know if the other devotees can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Prabhu.
Okay. All right.
There's echo, but we can hear you.
There's echo from my part or from this part? Okay. Someone else can ask a question or before.
Yeah. Anyone with a question, please, you can go ahead and ask.
Okay.
Shri Shara Prabhu.
Yeah, my system is not so good today.
Yeah. Please, if you may, try and maybe listen to your lecture today, because I have lots of questions for you, not for today, but someday.
Oh.
If Guru Krishna makes that arrangement. But remember what you said today, because I have some questions for you from what you said. But one question
now, because I'm having some very big problem today, hearing problem today. So if you have any questions, you have to write me, because I'm having problem. My hearing of my speaker is very bad because my headphone become very bad. So I can't, okay, 1 second. Let me check. I don't know. This never happened before. So no. Let me see if I can turn on the speaker system. Let me see. This never happened before. Oh, so that's I want to turn this to now. Is it on?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Huh? Just want to put on this
I think
so that I can hear you.
the speaker is too close to your device.
Okay. Hello, Steve.
All right. Since we're having issues, my
Can you speak?
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm speaking. Can you hear me?
Let me see. Can you speak again?
Can you hear me?
I can. Okay, I can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah, this. Okay, I will. Okay, what I'm going to do. Yes, I can hear you now. Okay. Okay. Answer.
Okay. Hare Krishna. My first question is from the first sentence of the paper. Shri Prabhupada's paper. Let me see if I can put it up here. Shri Prabhupada says Dhritarashtra had attained by the yogic process the state of negation of all sorts of material reaction. Okay. And in your comment, you also said that when one practices bhakti yoga and becomes advanced, of course, you also quoted from Gita 14:26, where in the preparation, Prabhupada was saying that when one becomes, like a Paka devotee, he abandons all these false relations, which is materialistic. Now, if one knows that all these relationships we have is false, then why do we kill ourselves to do anything and everything to take care of our wife and our children when we know that these relationships are all false?
Okay. It's a very good question, of course. And when we come to devotional service, our materialistic absorption is still there, which means our consciousness is still there in terms of attachment to family members, the society, friends, and the material energy. So our attachment is there. And as we'll perform devotional service under the guidance of the competent spiritual master, competent authorities, we become more and more attached to the process of devotional service. And the more we become attached, the less attachment we have for our society, our families, and others. And of course, for devotee, normally, it's not that one also have what we call a monkey renunciation. Phagavaregya, monkey renunciation. Monkey renunciation is whereby a monkey do not have attachment to family. Here in heaven, if I look at my window here, there are so many monkeys. So you can see the monkey will be jump, even though a monkey may have a child, but the monkey mother will just keep going, will just keep jumping, will not care if the child is with her or not. Will just keep jumping here and there, branch to branch. So which means, so we have we have what we call the monkey kind of renunciation, which is not really a renunciation. Phagavaregya, which means the artificial renunciation. Because why? Because the desire for material enjoyment is still there. So therefore, the Krishna consciousness is said to be a gradual process. It's a gradual process whereby one, with one's family, especially if one is a family member, then you engage your family member in devotion service with you. Your wife, your children, everybody engage in devotion service. And especially a householder does not see the family as the source of his own enjoyment. A household does not see the families, does not, like let's say a grester, does not see the wife, the children as the giver of pleasure to him. He doesn't see them, okay, they are meant to give me pleasure. No, actually, they are meant to give pleasure to Krishna, not they are meant to give me pleasure. Now, if you have the desire that, if you want the mentality that, oh, my family member is meant to give me pleasure, so which means that person will experience happiness and distress. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're not. The great personality is like Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a great family. He was a great family man, great family man. He had so many children, about 11 or 12 of them. He was a court magistrate. So he was the ideal soldier. So he had written that he said, who do I call my wife? He was talking to Krishna, praying, writing. He said, who's my wife? My wife, she's a maidservant of Krishna. She's Krishna maidservant. And who's my daughter? My daughter is Krishna maidservant. And who do I call my son? Is Krishna's servant. And what is this house? This is Krishna's house. So therefore, the person that I call the servant, I call my wife, my son, my daughter, is actually a dear Christian servant. And so what is my role? I'm simply a caretaker. The house belongs to Krishna. This is Krishna's household. And I'm simply a caretaker of this house. So therefore, because I'm a caretaker of this house, if any happiness or distress may come to this household, it does not, belong to me. It doesn't affect me because this house belongs to Krishna. Is the property of this house. He's the property owner of the house, and everyone here is his servant. So therefore, why should I be distressed? So this is the mood of a real devotee, household, a real devotee, Grihastha. So this is the mode. It's not that we cannot have family members. It's not that everyone has to be sannyasi, go to the forest. No. As a matter of fact, in all the Vaishnava tradition, majority are Grihastha, majority are householders. In all the Vaishnava tradition, the sannyasi is actually quite rare, very, very rare, very, very rare. Even before the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the devotees are mainly householders. Very, very extremely rare. Even now nowadays in our ISKCON society, we have tens of thousands of devotees. We only have like maybe 150 sannyasis. I think Shiva's Prabhu is on the sannyas. Is one of the persons that regulate the sannyasis. Then how many sannyasis do we have? Maybe 150 of them. The majority of devotees are Grihastha devotees, isn't it? So, but the thing is that one does not see one's household as a means to enjoy one's senses. Now, if you see your household life, your household circumstance as a means to enjoy, then you become entangled in the material world. You become entangled. But devotees are not. They're not entangled in the material world because they don't see their household as they see their household as Krishna's household. So because Krishna is always the center. So therefore, the household devotees, they're always happy. They're happy that way. And especially they're very attached to hearing the holy name, to chant the holy name, associate with other devotees. You know, they have this six loving exchanges that is there between the devotee. The Dharma, what is that? What is that? The Dharma Patiginati, what is that? Bhakti Pujati Saiva, what is that? Guna Kyati Pujati, Bhakti Pujati Saiva. In sad, what is that? That the devotees, they offer they accept respect for one another, they offer respect to one another, they ask each other questions, and then they reveal their mind, and then they offer pressure to one another, and then they accept. And so therefore, devotees have this loving relationship. This is all the Grihastha. This is all the Grihastha, you know, how they regulate their devotional life. So we don't say that, oh, you don't have anything to do with your family members. No, we don't say that. Otherwise, that be considered the artificial renunciation. That is not our process. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Wow. I'm sorry to follow up with your answer, but what does it really mean when we say that someone is having a material enjoyment? Like it says, do not enjoy the material world. What does it mean when we say somebody is enjoying material world? I live in this material world. I have my senses, my eyes to see, my nose to smell. I do not want to smell something stinking so bad. I want to smell something smelling nice. I do not want to taste something sour or bitter. I want to taste something sweet. So what does it mean when we say somebody is enjoying material world? It says, do not enjoy the material world. Does that mean that I do not have to sleep on a mattress? I have to sleep on the towels? Does that mean that I do not have to put on shoes? I should walk on the earth without shoes when the sun is scorching? What does it really mean when somebody says, don't enjoy the material world?
Well, we have this conception that the material world is to be enjoyed. We have this conception, which actually is not. As a matter of fact, it's illusory conception. That's what we have. Because what is enjoyment in material world? What is enjoyment? But we have this conception that yes, like I must enjoy. I must be merry and be happy.
Well,
so,
that is the question.
Let me
find out. What does it mean when we say somebody is enjoying the material world and we're telling the person don't enjoy it?
Yeah, I understand you. Our understanding of enjoying the material world is all based on illusion. And that illusion is what entangled us in this material world. That's why we entangled. And that's what takes us from one body to another body. Now, in the text we are reading today, you know, Dhritarashtra was said to be, he was able to separate himself from the senses and the mind, was able to separate himself. And by separating himself, he attained that, niguna, he attained that stage of niguna, that stage. Niguna means it becomes totally disassociated with material qualities, with three modes of material nature. Dvashta, what is that? It's a Dvashta, Maya Guna Daso. Dvashta means destroy, was able to destroy that association of material, of material energy association. Which is composed of the senses, the five senses, the mind, and all that. So he was able to separate himself from that. And by doing that, then he was able to pave his way towards a path of liberation. So, and that's why in the Gita verse also, the 14:22, 26, the Lord said, Mante Vavicharina, Bhakti Yogana Sevati. Saguna Samati Chanchan Brahma Buya Kapate. So the Lord said that in that verse of the Gita, whereby there is no once we're able to rise above that stage of three modes of material nature. So our mentality of seeing ourselves as the enjoyer or trying to enjoy, this is this is all within because we are totally, within the clutches of the three modes of material nature. So therefore, we see ourselves as the enjoyer, even though we're not really the enjoyer, we can't really enjoy anything. But due to illusory conception, we are thinking that we enjoy, due to illusory conception. Enjoyment simply means the contact of the senses with the sense objects. That's what the enjoyment means. The contact of the senses with the sense object. For example, the hand want to touch a woman or something, touch somebody, or the tongue want to taste some palatable food. The nose want to smell some good stuff. So when the senses are in contact with the sense object, so that reaction, this is what we call materialistic enjoyment, sense enjoyment. But in reality, even though there may be some immediate gratification, some immediate so-called happiness, but such materialistic happiness is temporary. So because it's temporary, because it's not of lasting nature, so therefore the scriptures call it illusory happiness. Because it's called illusory happiness because it's not of the lasting nature. It doesn't last. So because it doesn't last, and the consequence of that is even much more than the so-called happiness that we get. Just like, for example, in the material world, the highest form of enjoyment is sex life, sex. But we know the misery that a man have in pursuit of sex life is much more greater than the actual sex life itself. Just like, for example, in being a householder, you have to work hard for your whole life. You have to work hard like a cat and dog, just to maintain some, just for that little bit of sex life. And then you have to wait, you have to work your entire life. So therefore, it's difficult for us to understand when a sadhu said that give it up, no enjoyment, but we cannot accept it as, oh, what do you mean I should give it up? I want to enjoy myself. I want to enjoy, Because of what? Because of illusion, because of illusion, that we think that yes, the enjoyment is there. Enjoyment is there. But when you become a yogi, you will come to know that actually there is no really enjoyment regarding the contact of the sense and the sense object because of lasting nature. So therefore, you want to give it up. And that's why the scripture is shown again and again. We have the story of the Terasa Yeshua. Every canto, there are different stories that we're going to come across in the BHAGAVATAM. Just trying to emphasize this point only. Trying to emphasize this point only that, And ultimately, when we reach canto 10 of BHAGAVATAM, we're going to hear that actually we should just apply everything to Krishna. We should just apply all pleasure to Krishna. And if we do that, then we will find our spiritual happiness. That will be fun.
Well, thank you, Prabhu.
So
the more you speak, the more questions I have. But I will let Kavika Prabhu go. He has something to say. Prabhu, you please unmute.
Thank you very much, Prabhu, for your question. Thank you, Ishwara Prabhu, for your lecture, and thank you for using the earphone, because when you were not using that earphone, it was very difficult to follow. It was breaking. Yeah. But after using earphone now, it makes it very nice to hear. Yeah. Thank you very much, Prabhu. My question is related to what Prabhu Sadev is saying. I remember very clearly when we were growing up. The Christians around us, they were emphasizing more on going to heaven, and God is coming soon, And all of a sudden, like in Nigeria now, you can just, if you are here, you can experience what is going on. All those preaching is thrown out of window. You see the pastors themselves, they are using jets. Now they count their jets. You know, you see their mansions. And all those preaching of going to heaven to enjoy and, you know, just try to be saint here and don't enjoy here was thrown out of window. So when I came to ISKCON also, I was observing my environment also. I see that that preaching also was very prominent. I know about we are not the body, we're spirit, soul, you are going to die tomorrow. And we see those people who are pioneers, who are very absorbed in this preaching, they were very serious. And all of a sudden, people throw out that, people tend to give up that preaching also. You know, nobody is, even when the devotees are still preaching it, but people are not taking it very serious again. Because many people start seeing things in a different perspective. So I don't know what really happened in what is going on in this world, because if you are in Nigeria now, you will try to understand what I'm saying. People now, they are now they are thinking more about quick wealth. They don't want to go, they don't have that patience to go and enjoy in heaven again. They want to enjoy, they want to have that enjoyment in this material world. they are not caring about going to enjoy. Although as a devotee, I remember many of them, they come to the temple, they want, you know, to know how to make money and all those things. And when you are talking to them, it's like, sir, it's like you are not hearing what I'm saying. I said, this is what I want. So that patient is no more there. So I'm now just thinking, Prabhu, how can we preach in a way that people have to understand that they can become Krishna conscious, yeah? Because preaching also has to be dynamic. People have to be Krishna conscious, yeah? Like Prabhupada never stressed so much about suffering. He always stressed about Krishna consciousness. And that is why his name is more, his movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Everything is about Krishna consciousness. It's not about do or don't. It's about Krishna consciousness. Even when he didn't tell his disciples they have to give up anything until the initiation day. So how can we be dynamic in our preaching in a way that we can tell the world on how to live a God conscious year, and stop talking more about the detachment, enjoyment and detachment and all these things, because automatically when one is Krishna conscious, all these things will come. So please, can you throw more light on this, Prabhu?
So a few things. One is, like Lord Krishna says that Manushyanan Sahasya Sukasti that there are many in this world, millions and millions of them. That he said that out of millions and millions of people, maybe one person may be interested in civilization, maybe one person. And out of those who are making the inquiry or taking up the process, only a person attain perfection, come to me. It said, actually, the Lord said, Sam Mahatma Sudurati, so such a person is called very rare. It's such a great soul. It's very, very rare, which means, are you able to hear me? Is it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah, we are
you.
hearing you, Prabhu.
Okay.
Very clearly.
Okay. So the Lord is saying that all those who have come to me, or those who have taken up the process, hardly one person attain perfection. Hardly one person attain perfection. So which means, initially a person may be very, very, enthusiastic in devotional service, and, doing everything nicely, and then eventually, then maybe they find what they want, and then they drop it. So actually, like Srila Prabhupada always used to say that don't be surprised at who live, you should be surprised at who stay. This the Prabhupada used to say that. So yeah, as you're talking about, like previously, they used to talk about kingdom of heaven, this and that. But now nobody's talking about kingdom of heaven. They want the kingdom right here. They want the heavenly pleasure right here. And that's why, like every once in a while, I do look at the news of Nigerian news sometimes. And this thing that it become much more like a phenomenon now that people have all these ritual killings. It's become more and more phenomenal, ritual killings, and everyone is doing. It's like, what is wrong with people? People want to have quick work. So you have to kill another human being so that you can get it quick work. So that's why I've been actually thinking that maybe our devotees should be much more, maybe take a more bandwagon, maybe try to find some sensible other religious organization that we should actually tackle this. Because it's like a plague, it's actually a plague. The part of how you can tackle this, do some strong awareness that you want to kill another human being so that you can become wealthy. First of all, it doesn't even happen anyway. And the same time, killing another human being, you don't know what's going to happen. There has to be some kind of awareness which the body should create. Because it's become very, it's become a plague actually. So, of course, devotees, as I said, devotees come and then in the process, in the beginning, they are very, very enthusiastic, and then after some time, as Prabhupada said, because the hridaya, what is that? That the heart is not, when the heart is weak, because not everyone is strong enough, when the heart is weak, so the tendency is to come, and after some time one goes away because the heart is not strong. One is not strong in one's consciousness, in one's understanding. So that's, and especially, let's say there are not too many, examples to follow. So that is there. And, as I said, this critical consciousness process is a constant battle. It is a constant battle. Until one actually have bhakti, one attend the stage of rati. The stage of rati is when you actually start having taste. When you start having taste for the holy name, you have taste for the laws, scriptures, association of Vaishnavas, the taste for service for the Lord, so that you no longer see it as a duty to perform. Because if we see devotion service as a duty, then there'll be a time when we give it up, because after some time, we get tired of duty. We get tired of being told what to do. But when you have a taste for something, whereby you start feeling joy by doing it, that's when devotional service start becoming, meaningful to you. Devotional start becoming meaningful when you come to that point of rati. Then everything becomes meaningful. Spiritual, attaining spiritual world become real. When we talk of Krishna, Srimati Radharani and his devotees, become real, that way. But until that stage of rati, comes, the ashakti attachment, until that stage comes, it's like a battle. It's like a battle. And that's why you want to constantly have to battle all the time. That's why I think that they call it the spiritual warrior, whatever they call it. You have to, it's like a constant battle. It's a constant battle until you reach that stage of rati. It's a battle. So that's what we have to see. And that's, of course, that will depend on our own desire, on our own, how much further we want to go, how much further we want to go. So ultimately, it depends. It will depend on us ultimately. It depends on us. Because at the same time, you can only receive so much instruction from others. You can only receive so much instruction only. But at the end of it, it ultimately comes to you. Now, what do you want to do? Just like Krishna spoke Gita to Arjuna. So at the end, he told Arjuna, he asked Arjuna, now Arjuna, you heard this from me now. Now what you want to do? Tell me what you want to do. So we have to come to that point. We have been hearing all this instruction. At the end of it, now, what do you want to do? That's what you have to start asking. And it's you have to answer that. So this is the. So that's, as they say, that the devotional service to Krishna, to the Lord, is like a razor's edge. And one has to know, learn how to apply it. One has to learn how to apply it.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Shara Prabhu. It's great Shivasvanachari is here. But the Shara Prabhu said, we are in Kali Yuga, which is an age of hypocrisy. So it's not surprising that we come across bhakti practitioners who may even be hypocritical, because those of us who are trying to be devotees, most of us, we joined devotional service, we knew the Shikshashtakam, we may recite it. Yet, before we married, we were looking for beautiful women. Anybody who is a married man was looking for some beauty in the woman before he married her. Meanwhile, we every day chant, I'm not interested in a beautiful woman. I'm not interested in a beautiful woman. So are we not being hypocritical? And you say that the material senses enjoying the sense objects. That's what I was asking. So does that mean that me trying to be a devotee should not eat palatable food? I should eat some hot, sour food, and my nose running, pungent food. I should not smell nice flowers. I should not even take shower and smell good. These things are it's lengthy. I will end it here, and maybe Shivas Manacharya, if you have something else to add.
So,
Hare Krishna.
you know, because our desire is very, very deep in the material world. Desire to, the contact of the senses with the sense object. It's very, very difficult thing to give. Actually, the Krishna told Arjuna, when Arjuna asked Krishna that, how can I control the mind? After all, the mind is so, to control the mind is decided. Arjuna was saying that one can control the wind, but one cannot control the mind. So Arjuna said, how do the mind can be controlled? But what the Krishna told Arjuna, they said, abhyas, practice. Abhyas, practice. And yes, the Lord is said, the Lord, I do not want, beautiful women. I do not want beautiful poetry. Sundari means beautiful woman. This is his obstacle. And also when the Lord, when he was instructing the Raghunadas Goswami, after Raghunadas Goswami went to be with the Lord in Puri, so the Lord said, and that time Raghunadas Goswami, he had through the Sodamodara, he wanted the Lord to give him instruction. So Mahaprabhu replied, he said, I've given you to the charge of Sodamodara. So he will, however, if you want to hear something from me, here, this is it. He said, do not eat palatable food. Do not wear luxurious clothes. And do not sleep on a beautiful bed. Do not eat palatable food. I do not eat luxurious clothes. And if you and then become humble, then a blade of grass. If you do this thing, then you'll be able to attain Krishna. So the Lord said, so of course, when we hear this thing, our nature is to become rebellious. Oh, what do you mean? No good food, no good clothes, no, So we become rebellious. This is all part of our conditioned nature. I remember one time, myself and PRABHU, we were doing something together. It's like it was an 8 or 81. So we were doing something together in downtown Lagos. I remember that time. So we took all these teachings of Lakitanya. We are trying to sell book to one fellow. So I remember when PRABHU read this verse. Oh, my dear Lord, I do not want beautiful men. I do not want this. I do not want that. So when this fellow heard this, he said, what do you mean? This is what I want. He said, how can I say that? This is what I want. So this teaching is very difficult because why? Because of our conditioned nature. That's why we are conditioned in this material world. And so long as we are conditioned, then this thing will not be appealing to us at all. We'll be rebellious against it. So that, oh, this HARE Krishna is just a bunch of fanatics. This and that, they don't get this done. Because of their condition. And that's gonna be until so long as we are conditioned. So again, how do we become free from that? By positive association with the Lord. Positive association with those who are actually practicing to become free from that. That's just the thing. They just know, they just know the way. The scripture said, all the church said, this thing had to become free. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strict. It was so strict when he was a sannyasi that when devotees become Mahaprabhu, will sleep only on the ground floor. He will sleep on the floor only. So the devotees, who are themselves, they say, oh, our Lord, the Lord is sleeping on this bare floor, It's like a heartbreaking for the devotees. And so the Lord, then, what's his name? The Jagannath Pandit, he brought he makes some bed. It's not really a bed. Jagannath Pandit, he brought some grass, and he made from that grass, he made some kind of like a little bit of like a bed, like a mattress, and he covered it with with cloth, with red cloth, and then ask Govinda that they should encourage the Lord to sleep on this arrangement he has made. So when the Lord saw this, he was angry at it. He said that they're going to learn that I want me to enjoy myself. You want me to sleep on the luxurious bed? You want me to enjoy myself? And when people hear that a sannyasi is doing this thing, what people are going to say? They're going to say, oh, this is a Dari sannyasi. Dari sannyasi means it's a sannyasi who simply want to enjoy women. Dari sannyasi. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was so strict. But the kind of sannyas which was portrayed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, practically no living entity can do that, can follow that kind of sannyas. No one can follow that. It's a more topmost type of sannyas. But still, our Acharya, they still give us, they give us, what do you call it, some leeway. They give us leeway, like Srila Prabhupada, just like Srila Prabhupada made men and women to stay in the same temple, which was never done before. But Srila Prabhupada, it was very merciful, it was very, that some standard we just cannot follow it. So therefore, Prabhupada, it make it easy for us. Okay, we can just do things at a particular level. Then in the future, maybe we rise up in the future. Anyway, Srivas Prabhu, want to say something?
Okay, Srivas Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I say my humble obeisance, Ishvara Prabhu, and all the Vaishnavas. Thank you very much for your wonderful presentation of this verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. All I can say is that these prayers of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they are prayers of perfection. If you look at all of them, there is simply depicting the topmost platform of bhakti. And of course, we know that he is a sannyasi. The best of sannyasis is the Supreme Lord himself. So he was acting in the position of Srimati Radharani. She's on the platform of Mahabhav. So all the prayers, the Shastikam prayers Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us are actually prayers of perfection. But as sadhakas, as practitioners, we should look at those prayers as our goal. Each of those 8 prayers defines a goal. And so we put them in front of us as our goal. We want to achieve them. We want to get there. For instance, Shishastika number 3, Trinara Pisunichena Taro Apisa Hisdun. That is the perfection of chanting the holy name. So we want to get there, but it may take time. As sadhakas, we may not achieve that level in one day, probably not even one life. But once we have initiated the process, when we have taken to the process, there is hope that one day we will get there. So we should not be discouraged, or we should not be afraid to chant those prayers, because they always serve as a reminder of the goal. They always serve to let us know this is where we want to go. It's like a journey. You know how many miles you have to go, how far you have to travel. But that is a goal. And so now we work towards it. So even neophyte devotees like us can chant those prayers. And then the Mahabhagavatas can also chant those prayers. But then person on the platform of pure bhakti, he can actually lift those prayers. That is one way. There's one thing chanting them, and there's another thing living them. So the Mahabhagavatas, the pure devotees, they are actually living those prayers. But for us, we are just chanting to serve as reminders. And then we gradually move towards the perfection. That's the little I can contribute.
Yeah, that's the struggle, the prayer, the practice. That's why Krishna told Arjuna, he said, Abhyas, constant practice. He said, Abhyas yoga and complete. Abhyas yoga, and I said, I want the constant practice. By constant practice. So, which means we should never give up the process, of course. Of course, not given a process also is also require prayer. It's also required the, I mean, from the time I joined, all of us here. I remember one time when the first devotee who joined Lagos Temple from Sentinel onwards. I remember one time, there was a time in the mid-1980 when Brahmananda Prabhu, because that time all of us we have a bit, we never shaved. We all had hair. If you see the first picture, nobody shaved hair. So one day after almost 2 years, Brahmananda Prabhu and I said, okay, now everybody must shave. Everyone must shave. So when I said everyone must shave, all of a sudden everybody left except maybe 2 or 3 of us. Myself, Omkaras, and another devotee. We are the one that left the time, we are the one that left. About more than 20 devotees left because they were asked to share. So then I asked Brahmana Prabhu that, how come people are leaving? Why did they leave? Why did they leave? You know. So Brahmana Prabhu then he said, come, let me show you something. He said, this is what Prabhupada told me. But look, he said that when you go into the ocean, and then you drop a stone in the ocean, you will hear the sound, bloop, bloop, you know. That's called bloop, you know, that's how this word bloop comes from, you know, when somebody they call bloop, you know. So that most devotees will go, most devotees will go. So that's why it take, you know, it really take a very strong person to really stay. Because, you know, it's constant practice. And it's that practice we have to always stick to our mind that yes, it's difficult for us, but that perfection can be attained. So there is one Sanskrit word. It said that abhyasa nahi chakhyavyo, abhyasa I param balam. Abhyasa anabhyasa vision vidya. So abhyas means practice. So that abhyas, the practice, should never be abandoned, which means we should never give up the process. Abhyas, don't give up the practice. And by practice, one have topmost strength. Is the topmost strength. Abhyasa is param balam. Balam is strength. Is the topmost strength. And if one does not, if one give up practice, and if one give up practice, even the knowledge that one have become poisonous. Even the knowledge that one have. Bisham vidya. Bisham means poison, and vidya means knowledge. So therefore, the practice is very, very important. We have to constantly stick to the practice. And if we do that practice, then ultimately, the Lord's mercy will be upon us. Ultimately, we get the Lord's mercy upon us. So this devotee, what's his name? Govinda, wanted to ask a question.
Thank Hare Krishna has his thing, but to buttress what Srivas Vanachari just said, Prabhuji, I'm sure you will remember this. I very well remember when you were telling us we have to build a temple, and me being crazy as always. I said, Prabhuji, why are you talking about building a temple? We don't even have food to eat. But you're asking us we're going to build a temple. And you patiently told me, I guess I have been, but we have to keep talking about it. Because the more we keep talking about it, the most likely, probable that it will manifest. And lo and behold, even though we have nothing to eat, but we're able to build a temple. So even though we are not there yet at the pinnacle, but we still need to recite this phrase. But what I'm trying to say to that is that when you told us that we have to build a temple when we did not have the means, because we did not have the means, we did not build a temple until Guru and Krishna made it available. And so there are some of us who read these prayers and we want to immediately practice it. And this has caused so much mess. You know, so many devotees have mistreated their wives because they thought that the wives are Maya and mistreated them. So the way Prabhuji explained it is very beautiful because with that in mind, you know that we do not have to jump. The purpose that you jump, you break your leg. Step by step, gradually by Guru Krishna's grace, when we get there, we'll do it automatically. Nobody is even going to tell us, you don't do this. You will do it yourself. Hare Krishna. Hare Chakra, please, if you are mute. Hare Chakra, Prabhu. Well, Shri Govinda,
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, speak.
All right, go ahead. You are muted, Arichaka Prabhu. Okay.
Personally, like my personal observation is that it looks as if we preach more of poverty than anything. As if the only thing that can help us achieve the goal of life is to become poor. Don't enjoy this world, don't enjoy. So the question that Saturday was asking about, so when we say don't enjoy this world, what does it actually mean? Because at the end of the day, we are in this world and we are struggling somehow or the other to survive in this world. So does that mean if we become very poor, that is what proves that we are detached from this world, or what? Because I know some people who are really, really poor, but who are very attached to their poverty. They are very poor, but they are very attached to their poverty. So our philosophy, is it a matter of learning how to use whatever we achieve, or trying to detach ourselves from making progress? I mean, when I'm saying progress, trying to detach ourselves from making some material achievements, like building temples, building houses, getting good business and all this. Do we have to just detach ourselves from those things? Is that what it means by, because I perfectly don't understand. That's why the other day I was asking the question that somebody was telling me that we keep saying that we should prepare ourselves here so that in the future we will go and enjoy either in the spiritual world or in heaven. So does that mean we have to just suffer here, having the, what do we call it? The hope that in the future somewhere we will go and enjoy in the spiritual world? Because I quite remember, I've been in this world for at least 62 years. And I remember when we were kids, our parents used to really advise us that, look, good name is better than riches. They're always advising us that we should do the right thing in this world. We should do everything, and so that whatever achievement we achieve here is a good achievement. We don't have to use foul means. So like Kavi Kanapura Prabhu was saying that now people are not even interested in following the right path to achieve good things. People now don't care. Whatever it takes them to amass wealth, whatever it takes them to get riches, they don't care. If even to the extent that if even they have to kill fellow humans to make money, they are ready to do it. But this advice was being given to us, even though our parents were not talking anything about spiritual life. They were not even talking about how we are going to, in the future, enjoy in heaven. They were telling us about things in this world, that even in this world, good name is better than amassing riches in a wrong way. So right from childhood, we were taught that philosophy of trying to live a good life. So my question is, the final thing about my question is amassing wealth a bad thing, or is something that deters us from going back home, back to God? If not, then why are we most of the time, like, this is my observance, why are we, I'm always observing that anybody who preaches, a lot of people who preaches will always talk, oh, you shouldn't be interested in, you shouldn't work like asses, you shouldn't work like this thing. But here, if you want to make money, you have to work your ass off. Please, we have to work very hard to make money. So what is the philosophy of don't work so hard and all that stuff? So please enlighten me. Hare Krishna.
Okay, it's good. You have a good observation. First of all, it's never, we don't preach that we should be poor. Nobody ever preached that way. I don't know of any preacher who said that, who will feel that, okay, you should be pure. That's not the That's not the philosophy of Krishna consciousness.
Your audio is a little low. I don't know.
Okay, so let me just speak out loud. So as I said, that it's not our philosophy in Krishna consciousness movement that yes, people should become poor. Otherwise, we have so many billionaires and billionaires are actually devotees. So with the, so it's not a question of become poor because before you can become a devotee of Krishna. Of course, as you said, just if the Bible said that it's easier for what is that? To go to the kingdom of God, that analogy they say.
Pass through a canal through the eye of a needle.
Yeah, it's easier to go through the eyes of a needle than enter the kingdom of
Yes,
God.
yes.
So that is there in every religion. You see that. So it's not that actually. One of Krishna's name is called Hari. Hari means one who takes away. Normally, when one becomes a devotee of Krishna, the tendency is that okay, the person becomes poor. Okay, that is there. That is the general understanding. Oh, you become a God devotee, then you become poor. There was one time, Yudhishthira Maharaj, he approached Krishna. He said, "My dear Krishna, make me the best emperor in the world. Give me a benediction so that I will have the best kingdom in the world, the best empire." So Krishna said to Tastu, I gave you. And then Yudhishthira again asked Krishna, said, my dear Lord, give me the vast wealth or much wealth that nobody will have that. So Lord Krishna said to Tastu, I give you. And then again, he asked Krishna, and give me the most beautiful wife to marry. Make me the husband of the most beautiful wife. So the Lord said, okay, you will get it. Of course, they got Draupadi. So after these questions, which were asked by Yudhishthira Maharaj, the Lord Krishna said, my dear Yudhishthira, you are my devotee. And you are my devotees. All my devotees do not desire all these things. They don't ask for wealth, they don't ask for kingdom, all these things. So why are you asking me for all these things? After all, you are my very dear devotee. So Yudhishthira Maharaj replied, he said, actually, my Lord, all this kind I'm asking, it's not for me. It's not for me because I want to enjoy it. It's not for me. But I want to show as an example because people do not want to become your devotee. People are very afraid to be your devotee. But if they see me as an emperor with the best empire, they see me as such a wealthy emperor, and they see that my wife is the most beautiful woman. I know that. So they will say, oh, look at Yudhishthira Maharaj. He's such a great emperor. Look at his vast empire. So much wealth. His wife, the most beautiful wife. And he's also a devotee of Krishna. So if someone like Yudhishthira Maharaj can have all these things and also be a devotee of Krishna, so why can't I also be a devotee of Krishna? So in this way, a devotee will apply different means how people can become a devotee of Krishna. Because the main concern of a devotee is how people can become devotees. Because when people become devotees, they become better person. They hand up their activity in the material world. They get out the material world and become a devotee. It doesn't matter if you are poor, rich, or if you are, whatever you have, poor, rich, or your husband, your wife is beautiful. It doesn't matter what your situation in life is. The main thing is how one can become a devotee of the Lord. Among all the devotees of the Lord, there are those who are very, very rich, and there are those who are very, very poor. Like Kulavitra Sridhar was a very, very poor person. And he was a devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will always make fun of him, But he was a very, 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 very poor person. But he never desired to have all those things like what other devotees are having. Because being a devotee, because a devotee, the main criteria is self-content. Is self-content. How one become self-content, very, very, very satisfied with oneself. So it's not that one has to have desire to all these things. It's a matter of being very satisfied with what you have. If Krishna wants to give you wealth, become satisfied with that. If Krishna does not give you wealth, become satisfied with that. It's what matters is the self-contentment. But the moment you start desiring this, you have so much, you have the degree to have this. Then you have problems. Then the heart becomes very hard all the time because so much hankering. Then there's no peace, no peace. But the main thing is to become a devotee of the Lord. It doesn't matter either you're, you're Grasta, you're Brahmachari, you're Sannyasi, or you're rich. It doesn't matter what you are. What matters is how to become a lover of God. And a devotee of God is the one who gives everything to the Lord, who uses everything for the service of the Lord. Just like, just like a rich devotee who gave all the money to build a big temple. Similarly, also a poor devotee can just offer, Ganges water to the river Ganges. It doesn't matter. It doesn't mean that one is better than the other because it's just a matter of consciousness. It's a matter of consciousness. So so it's not that okay, yeah, be rich, I don't be rich. For a no mature preacher, we preach that way as you have expressed. No mature preacher will preach that way. So therefore, read the book, read Bhagavatam, read Bhagavatam, and try to have a positive discussion in the association of devotees. When you do that, you will find so much joy, so much happiness. When you do that.
Well, thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Prabhu.
Okay, it's okay.
No, I was going to say, I see there are two hands up. And I didn't need a Prabhu and Govinda Prabhu, but it's 20 of 11 p.m. Ishara Prabhu's time. So
okay, he can ask question.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Prabhu. Well, Govinda Prabhu, you may go and then another number for you.
Hare Krishna, Srivas Maharaj, please accept my respectful obeisances.
Hey, all glories and obeisances also. All Guru to Guru Deva, Srila Prabhupada. All glories to you all.
All glories. Hare Krishna. Yeah, actually, my question is already asked by Hari Chakra Prabhu. I was feeling the same thing. I was having the same thing in my mind to ask. I think sometimes our preaching is very heavy. We understand that the preaching must be done according to place and circumstances. We are in Kali Yoga, so the circumstance, or in other words, the consciousness of the people in Kali Yoga is more of materialistic. So when Krishna talk of the four people that comes to him, try to surrender to him, it's only one of the four that is actually looking for Krishna, seeking for real knowledge. The other three are all materialistics. And so if our preaching is very deep and so strict, the way we present it, then how are we going to attract these three classes of men into Krishna consciousness? We understand practically, but some of our devotees try to preach in the Kamikandic way, and we can see the results of kind of followers that they have. These followers did not follow him or follow them because of they want to attain love of God. They follow because they want to be happy materially. And in course of that, those who are wise among them have turned to become devotees, seeking for real truth. And so, similarly, you see practically our dearmost father, Bhatitieta Maharaj. Up till today, people still did not really understood him because of the way he dressed. You know, he dressed according to circumstance, according to the place that he was to go and preach. He dressed like a king and then go and preach. Sometimes he put on suits to go and preach. He was never, excuse me to say, you know, rough in his dressing. He always dressed very cute. I remember once somebody asked me, Prabhupada, why are you riding in such a heavy vehicle? Prabhupada said, yeah, we can ride in jets. Why not jets? But these vehicles, everything is for Krishna. What is wrong if you are using it or to speak of the representative of God? Everything is for Krishna. So what I'm trying to say is that sometimes we should learn how to present this philosophy to suit the common man in Kali Yuga, so that instead of attracting them, we don't drive them away. Because we all want to iron our clothes very nicely. We want to look sharp.
You comment or you're asking questions because time you just speak for a long time.
Yeah. It's comment. But after the comment, if you have anything to say, then you can come in. Sometimes we dress very sharp, and we are preaching of renunciation. The yogis don't care what they put on. And we want to eat nicely. If the prasadam is not good, we're going to complain. When we are drinking water, you want to make sure we are taking good water. It's all for the body, the sense gratification. But we care for it. You know, even if we are sleeping on the floor, we make sure there's no snake or there's no, you know, nothing is there going to bite us. It's all about the body. And so now this was the comment. The question is, how do we preach to affect the consciousness of the users of these material things so that they can use these material things and still remain in Krishna consciousness? Because we are in the material world, we have the material body, and these are the material things surrounding around us. We cannot do without them. We cannot go to place and place to preach by walking. We cannot walk. We have to go by vehicles. We cannot fly because we don't have that spiritual ability to fly. We have to go by airplanes. Do we neglect all those things? How do we use them and at the same time remain in Krishna consciousness and die thinking of Krishna?
Hare Krishna.
So basically, you have to preach according to your realization. Whatever you realize, you preach that way. So preaching is based on realization. You cannot preach above what you don't know or what you don't realize. Otherwise, it becomes artificial. It has no effect. So whatever you realize, well, then you have to preach that way only. If you have a firm conviction that you are not this body, I'm part and parcel of Krishna, the goal of life is to understand God, to understand one's relationship with Him. If we do that, we become happy, we go back to God. If you have this understanding and we realize it, we are convinced by it, then we can convince others also. So Ananka, what's the Anandini? So Anandini, ask your question.
Please unmute.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you very much. Prabhu, I think my question is also going to dwell on the same topic that we are treating. And this is here at why I worship here in Ghana. You see, this form of preaching that we'll be talking about, Prabhu, you see, now I can say people are coming to our temple maybe just for prasad. Because the kind of people that have been coming to our Sunday services are people like me. We are very much poor. And here is the case. Prabhupada said, it's like Prabhupada said, nobody can listen to a poor person. I quite remember one day I was in the temple during morning Srimad Bhagavatam class. Srimad Vanachari was speaking about, they were going through the Vaishnava etiquette book. So on that very page, something was mentioned that even the Sunday speaker have to preach dynamically so that the first comers, they can partake and the seniors also can partake. So my question here is, preaching generally, is it for everybody or per time for a particular person and for other person? Because I'm partaking a Shastri Bhakti Shastri program, and one of the teachers, Madhu Sudhana Prabhu from India, said, yeah, basically in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, some of the topics are not for a particular people, it's for different people, but we generalize everybody, then we preach the same message to them. So eventually we end up making nothing. So my question here is, the preaching, as you said, isn't that we should tone it a little bit down so that it can go well with other people? Because somebody who is being rich and we are preaching to that person to renounce, I don't think it can work out. So this is my neophyte idea. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Now, now we are speaking, like myself, we are preaching on we're giving lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam. Srimad Bhagavatam is the, it's a graduate science of Krishna consciousness. So, which means you have Bhagavad Gita, which is considered to be, undergraduate study of Krishna consciousness, and you have Bhagavatam, which is graduate study of Krishna consciousness. Chaitanya Charitamrita is considered to be the postgraduate level. So obviously, when we give lecture on Bhagavatam, because Bhagavatam is more of an advanced science of Krishna consciousness, so depends on the speaker, of course. The high topic will tend to be there. Normally high topic, of course, normally focus on the, renunciation and developing more love for Krishna, because it's one's supposed to be, let's say, step up that level. But otherwise, the general preaching is different. Like for example, when the college, we're giving lecture to the college students. So obviously, it's not going to be the same as giving lectures on Bhagavatam. So different audience for different speaking. And of course, this particular platform, so all kinds of devotees are listening to it. Some are like, regular seasoned devotees, old devotees, and some are just plain new, like yourself. And even though the message is there, the way different devotees hear the message, different devotees, they will not have the same understanding. But still, everyone can get something out of it. Everyone can get something out of it. So when we hear something that we may feel that maybe this is not my level or our level, then even though we hear it, we can still keep it in the corner of our heart that we feel, okay, one day we come to this particular, to this particular understanding. And everyone has been talking about so much poor. Who is poor? Actually, in this material world, everyone is poor in the material world. Everyone is poor. If you don't have love for Krishna, you're a poor person. It doesn't matter how much, how much of gold, whatever. You are a poor person if you don't have love of God. Because it's love of God is the wealth which will follow you when you leave your body. That's the real wealth. The so-called materialistic wealth, once you die, it's gone. Death is not going to follow you. So what is the so-called wealth anyway? So in this material world, everyone is poor. Everyone is poor who is not, who does not understand God, who doesn't understand its relationship with God, with Krishna. No love for God. The person is poor. So we should not be saying that, oh, I'm poor, and this person is rich. No, no, no. That's a totally wrong conception. The more rich, the more advanced you are in the spiritual consciousness, the more rich you become. When Chaitanya Prabhu asked Ramananda Roy that who is a capitalist in this world? Who is the greatest capitalist? So Ramananda Roy replied that the greatest capitalist is the one who has developed love for God, love for Krishna. So in spiritual circle, wealth is not defined according to how much gold or somebody has. No, totally wrong conception. You may have gold today, you may go tomorrow. You're so-called poor today, you become rich tomorrow. So it depends on how the waves of material life, how the wave materialistic, how the wave blows, how the wave blows. That's all. So again, this message is there. The message is there by different persons. We have different understanding of the message. That's basically it. Okay. Anyway,
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Vishara Prabhu. Thank you for the time. It's been almost 2 hours, 30 minutes. I think it's one of the longest classes we had. And I must say thank you very much for the time and the answers to all our questions and your patience and your Srimad Bhattacharya Prabhu. Thank you so much for your help and guidance. And thank you very much. Another thing that, in fact, what I would like to say in regards to your comment plus question is that we do not in any way attempt to tone down the philosophy because of the age or because of the recipients. But we are trained to be so experts as to how to deliver the same message in such a way that it does not cause people to flee or run away from it. We don't tone it down. It's the same thing, but we become so expert in presenting it in such a way that it does not become a problem for people accepting it. That is just what I think I would have to say. And if Srivas Prabhu has something else to say, Srimad Maharaj is still there, if you have something to say, then Shri Shara Prabhu yourself, if you have something to round up with, you do that before we bring the class to you. Srivas Prabhu, you have something to say?
Thank you for a wonderful class, Ishara Prabhu, and thank you for the wonderful audience that is always there for the speaker. Thank you.
So thank you for your
We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank everyone for participating, for listening. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So
and everyone tried to make it a point to come to India, come to Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hey.
Please pray for us. You are on the holy town. You are very close to Radha Krishna. Talk to them to shower us their blessings so we can come pay a visit.
Yeah, make it a point.
Yeah.
So, and we
At
thank
this point, we humbly went to ask all the devotees to kindly unmute so that we chant the Hare Krishna to express our appreciation to our speakers. Jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Krishna, Hare
Hare
Hare,
Rama,
Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare.
Chakri Pasya Yuvacha, Vasanam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo.
Namo Namaha. Ishvara
Ishvara
Prabhu
Prabhu
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai. Jai Shri Radharacharya ki jai.
Prabhu,
Prabhupada ki jai.